Hey guys, it's March the 27th, 2013 right now, and no, this is not a garden video, but I do want to remind people, if you're doing tomatoes this year, it doesn't really matter where you are in the world. I'm in Canada, of course, and the tomatoes are already in their little pots inside. It's too cold to go outside yet, of course, but I'm hoping to have my seedlings up and something to show in the next week. If you haven't got your seeds into some soil and get them germinating by this point, you are behind. So if you're doing tomatoes this year, get on top of it. Garlic, rhubarb, berries, silver. Ugh. This, of course, is the Drutter divergence, as it has been called occasionally, showing the divergence between silver's price and demand. Of course, price is the white jagged line, and demand is the green bars behind it. This is a better done chart than my versions. It's more professionally done. Uses the actual silver chart overlaid on top of the demand chart. Instead of just using yearly highs that I was using for my chart, but you see the same sort of thing. Of course, this is the divergence here. I see that the person who made this chart actually could have been a little more obvious about the divergence by putting the data point up here, which is actually where it belongs. The projected total for the first quarter of 2013 is 15 million eagles, and this is 14 here, so it actually should be right about there. Making that divergence even more striking. But I think the person who did this wanted to be conservative. The person who did this, by the way, is Mike Maloney. So thanks to his team for bringing this data into a greater audience. This picture was taken by a subscriber of mine in Melbourne, Australia last night. And he was at a conference where Mike was the keynote speaker. I don't know what the conference was called. But anyways, a section of the keynote address was on the Drutter divergence, so that's pretty cool. And thanks for doing a better job with the chart than I did, and for bringing it to a larger audience. That's awesome. So let's just keep on staying on this story as the year progresses. We'll see what happens in April if the record numbers can continue. We had a record January, record March, and a record February, of course, so that adds together obviously for a record first quarter of 2013, and we are on par, or on pace I guess you could say, for a record 2013 overall if sales continue to be strong. So yeah, going to keep on watching that one. A quick look at the Bitcoin chart. This is a daily chart. It was just about $90 a couple hours ago, 88 something now. I was noting that early in February last month the price was $18, so it's gone from 18 to 90 just in February and March. So I think a lot of this is probably Cyprus driven and European driven, but also this move from the $50 level when it finally broke through here was a technical move. I think $50 is usually a psychological level, and I'm wondering if it gets to $100, will it then pull back like it did here and have trouble before getting through, or I guess we'll have to wait and see. But just a quick note, I do mention this chart not because I'm investing in Bitcoin or speculating in Bitcoin or even endorsing Bitcoin at all. I am just interested in it as a currency. I'm interested in currencies and money, and this teaches me something, and I've learned quite a bit from this. So, you know, you get a lot of hate when you talk about Bitcoin, and I realize it's thin air. There is no intrinsic value to a Bitcoin. It's not a store of value, and it is not money. But as someone said in Bullion Bugs last night, we were talking about it, he said, yeah, Bitcoin is thin air, but it's non-government controlled, decentralized thin air. So it actually has a value for being non-government controlled thin air that you can use to buy things. So anyway, yeah. It is 3 times the dollar value of an ounce of silver, so you could trade 1 Bitcoin for 3 troy ounces of physical silver bullion. That's wild. But like I said before, it doesn't necessarily have to pull back. It can continue going. So it's interesting to watch the birth of a currency. So I'm going to continue looking at this. There's not much news coming out of Cyprus. The mainstream covers a little bit of it, but really we don't know what's going on there for the most part. I don't know any bloggers, I don't know any YouTube channels from that area. It's just kind of weird, you just can't find any real information about it. But how long would you last without access to your bank account? No ATMs, no swiping your card, nothing else. How long would you be able to last? A lot of us wouldn't go more than half a day and we'd be in big trouble. These people haven't been able to pay their rent, they can't buy groceries, they can't cash their paychecks, they can't get a cup of coffee. Nothing. So I bet you there's some preppers or prepared type people in Cyprus who are going, thank goodness I was paying attention and I had my value stored in precious metals or some other tangible thing, had food storage for example, had equipment, had tools. Those people are okay. Other people, it's been pretty rough on them and there's been riots and stuff. But within the next half an hour or so, the banks in Cyprus are opening back up again after almost 2 weeks. So I think there's going to be some angry people. There's going to be people trying to take their money out as quick as they can. Of course, the banks are imposing strict limits on what you can and can't do with your money, which I guess they consider their money, but it's not. It's the depositor's money. They're saying you can only take out a certain amount, you can only spend a certain amount, you can only spend it certain places, you can't move it out of the country, and depending on who you are, some of it might have been stolen from you while your bank account was frozen. So there could be some angry people in the next day or so in Cyprus. Let's watch and see what happens. Before I go, I've laid out some piles of metal. Each one is worth about $5. This is $5 worth of gold. That's $5 worth of silver. And there you have $5 worth of nickel. And of course, $5 worth of copper. Talk to you guys soon.